Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the US vBrownBag. This series, this is a continuation of the Python for DevOps series. You will remember that a couple of weeks ago we had a kickoff where where I covered the basics of the things that you needed to learn. And that the rest of the series was going to be presented by actual real developers who actually know what they're talking about. And so to that end, this evening we have the talented and amazing Gina Bueno. She is at Jinrubu. But before we get everything kicked off, a couple of housekeeping notes. For those of you on Twitter, you can follow us at vBrownBag, and if you hashtag vBrownBag during the conversation tonight, I will be monitoring and hosting, covering all of the questions and curating them and interrupting Gina as she is talking and making sure that all of your questions get answered. If you are in the live audience, please feel free to put questions into the question field, and I will be taking them and fielding them to Gina as well. So my name is Mistwire. I'm Chris Williams. I'll be your host this evening. And obviously, again, the presenter is going to be Gina Bueno. So without further ado, Miss Gina, are you there?
Yes.
Awesome.
Hello.
I am about to make you presenter. You have the power.
Sweet. Okay. All right. Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Awesome. All right. Hello, everyone. As Chris introduced me, I am Gina Bueno. Today, we will be going over automating sysadmin tasks with Python.
Yay!
So a little bit about my background. Currently, I'm a software developer at Liberty Mutual, mainly in the DevOps space. I do a variety of things every day. That's pretty much why I love my job, because I can learn so much every day. And before I was working at Liberty, I did my undergrad at UNH here in New Hampshire. That's where I got my bachelor's in IT. So obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, you have an interest in Python, or you're already into it and you just want to keep talking about it. But a little bit why I love Python is because so far in my journey, it's been pretty easy to learn. And all of the resources I need are just a Google search away. And along with that, when I do find things, it's really easy to read and for me to understand it. So the readability is great. And there's support for object-oriented programming, which is great if you want to add classes and make your code a little bit more complex. The Python standard library, it has a bunch of built-in modules or functions, methods that you can use that make it so you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and you can use tools that will make your development go a little bit faster. And the access to the third-party packages, so like the open source community is great, and you can find so much code out there. So moving on. So the use cases for Python are really any scripting language, is any manual task, especially a repeatable one. So there's no really excuse if you find yourself doing a task twice. You should always ask yourself, like, I wonder how I could automate this. And some tips and tricks that I just wanted to shout out a bit, where it's just like any programming language, or I feel in IT in general, just use Google, search Google, take advantage of what's out there already. Like, don't need to reinvent the wheel. Stack Overflow is your friend, but always try the snippets that you find out there to make sure they work. Don't trust every comment you read. And with that, follow incremental development. Not sure if people are familiar with Agile, but similar to just keeping the flow thing, incremental development, just doing small pieces instead of doing a whole big change, because it's hard to keep track of. It's difficult to understand what you've done, what the values have changed. So it's just good to make small changes. And printing often. So even though you think you know what the value of that variable is, it could be a totally different type due to the great way that Python is made, being so flexible. So it's just really helpful with debugging, especially using those built-in functions that come with standard library, or like checking the type, checking the value. And some recommended training. So if you haven't listened to Chris's podcast a couple weeks ago, you should. And if you're interested in any training, I definitely agree with the ones that he listed in his presentation. And then in addition to that, I'm a hands-on learner, so I really enjoy like interactive exercises. So Code Academy has an embedded IDE on the web app, so you can just do all your code right there, no need to install anything. And then Coding Bat is just like a random website I found that has like exercises, and they're pretty standard, just like programming exercises, but you can do them again just right in the web app. And then it will tell you if you passed or failed.
I'm loading them up right now. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. And then a self-guided training is Learn Python the hard way. There's mixed feelings on that one, I feel like. It depends on the kind of learning style you like. But if you just want to do an exercise a day or something, that'll get you through like a month.
Nice. Very cool.
So how do I start automating my manual tasks? So with the title of my presentation, I'm more wanted to talk about kind of the mindset you want to have when you're starting to automate something manual. So this can be also just for development in general. If you're trying to automate something, you want to think about the process end to end, not just the little snippet that you thought of an idea of to automate. If it's connected to another piece in the puzzle, it's worth looking at the big picture and trying to understand, like where else is there human intervention? Is it similar? Could I automate it in a similar fashion? And then once you realize the problem that you want to solve, really figure out what tasks need to be completed, if the order matters, what the steps are. Do you have to authenticate? Do you have to think of security? Would you want an alert for this or a report that your task has been completed? So just some things to keep in mind when you're developing. And then to move on to talk about the demo. So I decided to do something with pretty basic functionality that would provide like a common understanding for just the building blocks for starting development. And then what's great about Python and any programming language is that you can build on top of it and make it more complex. So for this demo, I will show you the code that I made that will allow you to read a CSV. In this case, has a list of some IP addresses. We'll parse it and ping those servers, all using Python, and then write back to the CSV with the status of pinging the servers, and then send a Slack notification using their API. So I will attempt to do this seamlessly. Oh. Okay, and you can still see my screen, I presume.
Yes, I'm very happy to see that you're using VS Code.
Yes, VS Code is like the best editor. Don't at me.
I'm not. I fully agree. Even though in my presentation I said, it doesn't matter, but I'm a fan too. Yes.
Oh, right. Well, I mean, I have probably like 3 different IDs on it, so I use them all. Anyway, so we'll get to the code. So this demo is composed of 2 files. So I made the first one. We'll go through right here. So this is in charge of loading the CSV, which I can open. No, I can't. Do you trust me, or should I just? I don't know. I'm just gonna move on.
It's a zero trust model here. No, we trust you. Yeah. We trust the CSV exists.
Yeah, there's a CSV with 2 IP addresses. It'll take me too long to find it. And it's just 2 IP addresses. So it will read those IP addresses, convert it into a list, and then ping them, but we can go through it line by line. So in the first line here, we import 3 different modules. So these first 2 come from the standard Python library, and this one is actually this Python file right here, slack.py. So we import those so that we can take advantage of the functions that they provide. And then we want to read in our CSV that contains the IP addresses and or open it. And then we're going to read it in with the CSV reader. So that's as you can, wow, VS Code, killing it. There's a definition of a function right there. And we're going to convert it to a list because I found it easier to work with. And then because my CSV is the first row is just a title for the following rows, I just wanted to pop it off. So I use this built-in function .pop with the list, and it'll just pop the first or 0 element off. Then I make a string for the output so that I can keep adding to it. And then I loop through the list, and I set the IP address to the first element in each of the rows. I use this OS system function to ping the server, and I just do it twice for fun. And then I check if it came back or if it didn't, and it just writes to a CSV. And again, this is really basic functionality, but it comes with a lot of different functions that you can really build on top of this or just create your own. And then from there, it's going to write in our new output CSV. And then I already have, so from Slack, the API that they provide, I can show off. Slack is also a messaging platform for those that aren't familiar, but they allow you to use their API. You can start building and create an app and link it to your workspace. And it's all free, which is great for testing. And so they give you a URL that you can call to make a post. And I include some headers, and then I call the Slack function that I created in this file. We can move on. Any questions so far?
Hold on 1 second. Nope, not yet. You're good. This is awesome.
All right, sweet. Okay. So then in my Slack.py file, again, we have an import statement. So this is where I import requests and CSV. Again, both of these are built in or from the standard Python library. And the request is what you use to make API calls, and CSV is the same module we used in the last file. So I create a function that takes in a file, which will be our CSV input, our URL, and our headers. And it will open the file and read it into a list again, pop off the first element, and then it will, since it's a list, I made it into a string because we need it to be a string so that we can pass it into the request. So in addition to needing to be a string, it has to be in JSON because that's what the Slack API is expecting. So it's expecting that we have a key value pair of key within the value of the payload. And then I pass it into this request function that will make a post with our supplied URL, the data, and the headers. And then once I run it, I will also move this windows around first. Oh, there's my binder finally. It's hiding back there. Cool. There we go. All right, so once I run my parse csv.py, the output you'll see is the output of a ping. And then you'll see that 3891953 is up. Let Oh, where's the other one? Oops. I might have broken my script on the way, but at least one of them's up.
And so what do you use this for in your work? What engendered you to create this?
This podcast engendered me to create this. Is that the word you used? I hope so.
Yes.
And, this podcast, in reality, my work every day is, I've never really done actual like sysadmin work. I've always kind of been a developer in a department of system administrators. So I've kind of always played the role of working or pairing alongside a sysadmin to like figure out what they wanted to automate and kind of work with them to build a script.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So they'll come to you with a task that they do that's like a munge task that they don't want to do 17 times a day, and you'll figure out a way to create a script to help them just hit the button and fire it off.
Yeah, and it's more of like a collaborative effort too, which is awesome because then I get to learn and gain different perspective too.
Cool. So the one quick question that we have, the Slack import, or the at the top of the script you've got import Slack, and that's coming from a different file. Does that file have to be in the same folder with parsecsv.py in order for it to work?
I don't think so specifically, but you don't have to do anything extra if you keep it in the same folder, if that makes sense. Like okay. Then you may have more flexibility of where you can keep it, but I know it works this way without extra configuration.
Okay, so hold on. Okay, so now they're asking, do you have to put the path in if it's in a different folder?
I'm not sure. I should know that.
All right, so something for them to Google.
Yes, something for us all to Google.
Ah, cool. Okay. Hold on. I'm watching the dots go and like they're typing, but it's not. Okay, no, disregard. If it pops up, we'll go back to it. So please continue.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, they're typing, but we'll get back to it.
Okay, awesome. Well, yeah. So that was pretty much my spiel. Again, I was trying to go for kind of basic functionality so that I'm a pretty big fan of keeping things like simple and understanding them simple first. So I figured this was a good way to get people started.
Absolutely, totally. Yeah, no, this dovetails in really well with the stuff from last week, because this follows up with all of the like I talked about functions, but I didn't go into it, and so you totally drilled into it. Can you speak a little bit about how the call goes to like do a step through of the function piece that you have?
Yeah, for sure. So it's defined first with this def keyword right here, and then with the name, you can pick anything you'd like, as well as these parameters. You can add as like 0 to many. You can put whatever you'd like in here, and name them whatever, as long as you reference them. And this colon is very important. If you don't add that, you will get a bunch of errors.
It will crash.
And yes, bad things will happen. And so then I just do these widths and open the file in a sequence in which I want to do it. So I read it first, then I cast it to a list. So I'm changing the type here from the CSV reader into a list. And I learned that the hard way, but I just failed fast. And then after
what do you mean
popping it up,
you learn it the hard way?
So if you don't make this a list, you try and pop it off, because the pop function is
Oh, it's
expecting a
list-based,
list rather than the CSV reader. It will just throw you an error.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, as well as so there are certain things that if you use them, like the CSV reader, they have different types of built-in functions that they may be using. So instead of when you're expecting to maybe count something or try and understand like a property of that type, they can be a little bit more complex if they're from like the standard library rather than just a basic list.
Gotcha. Okay.
You expect them to behave one way, but they don't. So it's always good to reference that documentation, like the man pages. And then looping through the list again, it's pretty much very similar to this parse CSV file. The other one, it's pretty much the same code other than joining the list into a string so that it can be concatenated with this string that represents JSON down here. Because otherwise you can't just concat, even though Python is really flexible and dynamic, you can't just add the string with the list.
Right.
It has to be specific. It's not that smart. And then I just return it with the response I want. You could just send this or assign this to a variable and then return that variable. Again, everyone's different. Just kind of learn as you go. Change your style as you go. And then in the other file, other than adding the slash to the import statement and calling the function, that's pretty much it, except for, actually I forgot, so I do slack.slack here because this first slack is the module name, and then this second slack is the function name. So if I had a function in the other file that was named sloth, then it would be slack.sloth.
How weird that you picked the name sloth. That's so unusual.
Yeah, it's just look. I turned my head and there's a picture of a sloth. So.
Cool. Okay. The question finally popped. Does Python have a concept of a pipeline like PowerShell does?
I'm not sure, especially because I don't know the concept of the pipeline in PowerShell. Either.
Graham, do you mean like a pipe, the pipe symbol where you're piping it to a different thing? I'll wait for him to respond with that.
Oh, like the pipe symbol.
Yes, piping through various functions. That's what he's saying. Yes, piping through various functions.
Well, you could call another function with the input, like with the output of another. If you mean like kind of chaining them that way. You definitely, like in the OS system, since this accepts like most shell commands, you could probably use the pipe in there as well.
Gotcha. Cool. Nice. He said thank you.
Yeah. Of course.
Cool. All right.
Great.
Let's see. I don't have any other questions right now. Nobody's rolling in. Was there anything else that you wanted to go over?
No, I didn't really prepare for
that wasn't a trick question. I was just asking.
Okay. You got me.
No, there's no gotchas here. Cool. All right. Excellent. Thank you very much. If there are any additional questions that pop up, we're going to be posting this up on YouTube and iTunes. So any additional questions that pop up, we can filter them back and answer them there. Is this? Oh, another question is this code going to be up in a repo anywhere?
I will put it up in a repo, and then I can probably work with Chris to get it shared around vBrownBag, or I can tag it.
I'll put the repo link in the YouTube video as well.
Okay, sweet.
Excellent, cool. Well, Ms. Bueno, thank you very much for your time this evening. We definitely appreciate it. One other additional thing that I wanted to mention to the viewers, Gina, I'm going to steal presenter back real fast.
All right, cool.
And one other thing that I wanted to mention to everybody was packed publishing. As the long-term listeners know, we like to share knowledge and share free information. On Pact Publishing right now, there is a Python Artificial Intelligence Projects for Beginners video series that if you sign into it and click the Claim Now button, traffic lights, come on, seriously? All right, traffic lights, I'm not a robot. Gimme. You can then watch a beginner's course on AI using Python. I imagine they've got TensorFlow going on in there and all kinds of stuff. So that might be fun for people to grab a copy of, since it's free and it's good stuff. Oh, as you can see up here, Gina, I grabbed all of your stuff. So I'm going to be perusing that stuff as well.
Awesome.
Yay, cool. Again, thank you very much, and everybody have a wonderful evening.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Thank you.